certain, different beaches side by side can have completely different rules. But I think part of the problem is it's not clear. So people can get to beach A and then find that they've got to change their plans completely, because what with the summer and everything, you can't just leave your dog in your car while you go on the beach.
That's what. So if you plan to go on the beach with the dog, you get there, it says no dogs. That's the disaster.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to change your whole day or find somewhere else to go. And more people you see are holidaying in the UK to be with their dog. So for me, I just think it's about a negotiation and about compromise, and to also look at the other side a little bit. We're living in a world where plastic and debris and litter is also a problem.
Right, loads of people.
Afternoon, everybody. Wednesday, UK. Bomb detection dogs, jury and Gus are working hard on searches for potential devices in Windsor ahead of Harry and Meghan's wedding. They belong to the Thames Valley Specialist Dog Unit. Suffolk. Next month, pups can try meditation, hypnotherapy, canine flow, spiritual training at the National Dog Show in Stowmarket in Suffolk. Sounds fun. Toronto, Canada. Therapy dog owners have been taking their dogs to the scene of the recent Toronto van attack, where they provided comfort to mourners and witnesses of the deadly attack. Los Angeles, a dog vanished in a car crash on 60 freeway. The man's dog Panda was either tossed from the car or ran away. The Shepherd and Border Collie mix is microchipped, but they're optimistic they will be reunited soon. Her littermate Grizz wants her back too. This pic's on abc7.com. Got a sad story here from New Zealand. After rescuing their daughter from her bedroom before her huge tree branch struck by lightning hit, they went outside and found their dog had been hit by lightning and alas. campaign recently throughout Rotorua and other areas. Thanks to Samantha Motion of the Bay of Plenty Times for that story. Watch out, Mr. Tumble, twirly woos and...
A man who pretended to be a doctor and gave women what they thought were Botox injections has been found guilty of grievous bodily harm. Ozan Mehmet, who's 42 and from Uxbridge, had denied 3 charges of GBH. He was found guilty on 2 counts and cleared of a 3rd. He'll be sentenced next month. Sir Paul McCartney has donated a collection of photos taken by his late wife Linda to the Victoria and Albert Museum in South Kensington. The pictures feature some of the music world's greatest icons. Charlotte Gallagher reports.
There are places I remember.
The Beatles, Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix all appear in the photos. There are also personal portraits of the McCartney family on holiday. Linda McCartney became a professional photographer in the mid-1960s and was known for her intimate portraits of some of the era's biggest stars. The V&A has called the donation an exciting gift, describing Linda McCartney as a talented eyewitness of pop culture. The photos will go on display in the museum's new photography centre, which opens in October.
I give her all my love. That's all I do.
Now with London's weather, here's Elizabeth Rizzini.
More sunny spells to come as we head through the rest of the afternoon. We'll see temperatures between 15 and 18 degrees Celsius. And again tonight it's going to stay dry. There'll be some clear spells at times, some cloud coming and going. Overnight lows of around 4 to 6 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow we'll feel even warmer with top temperatures of 19 degrees. More sunny spells and warming up further over the weekend.
BBC Radio London, it's 6 minutes past 4.
BBC Radio London.
First for London's news.
Drive time.
Weekdays from 4. Call 0800 731 2000.
Yes, our brand new free-to-call phone-in number is up and running, of course, and we're going to talk about volunteering on the programme this afternoon. Specifically, at first, at least, about volunteering within the NHS, and would you be prepared to do it? If you already do, by the way, please call me, because I'm fascinated to hear about your experience doing that, what you get out of it, that kind of thing. And just on a sort of broader note regarding volunteering, how significant, how important is that becoming now? Certainly in the light of so many cutbacks to local services, for example. Do get in touch and tell me about your experience. 0800 731 2000. Lots more besides then on this Thursday afternoon drive time with Jim Davis in for Eddie Nestor. Get dialing if you'd like to come and join me.
BBC Radio London Drive Time. Weekdays from 4.
Call 0800 731 2000.
Thanks to Joe, by the way. Joe's got Kevin McLeod on the show tomorrow. I'm a big fan of Kevin McLeod from Grand Designs, who's joining Joe on the programme. She's back tomorrow at 1, of course. It's 7 minutes past 4 now, then drive time. Free to call from UK landlines and mobiles, of course, and we'd love to have you as part of the programme. We're going to talk about hoarding a little bit later on the programme. We'll also talk about football as a way to divert young people away from a life of crime. And much more besides between 1 and 7 o'clock. But we're going to start with volunteering. Now, I think volunteering is an incredibly worthwhile thing to do. I think it's quite obvious that you will get a lot out of it if you are prepared to give up some of your time to do it. But saying you want to do it and actually finding the time to do it, that's exactly the problem I've come up against. With a rather chaotic life, I don't really have much of a routine in my life. I kind of work all over the place at varying different times, and that's stopped me being able to give up my time or commit my time to volunteering, despite wanting to. Despite that, though, research out today from the Royal Voluntary Service suggests that more than 1 in 5 of us would be happy to offer free help and volunteer, specifically within the NHS. I think this is particularly interesting because if half of us actually fulfil that promise and go ahead and do it for just 2 hours a month, It's not the biggest commitment, is it? 2 hours a month. That would cumulatively equate to a whopping 16.5 million working days a year donated to support the work of our doctors and nurses within the NHS. That's a staggering figure, that, isn't it? 16.5 million working days. If just 1 in 10 of us actually came through on our promise and volunteered for 2 hours a month. Now, the findings come as the RVS, the Royal Voluntary Service, announced plans to double the number of volunteers in the NHS over the next 5 years. So clearly there is a huge demand. On average, across Britain, according to the BBC, research shows that average NHS trusts have about 357 volunteers. But at King's, right here in London, they've got double that. They've got 700 volunteers helping them out there. Amongst them is Naomi. Actually, Naomi's a sister, I beg your pardon, on an emergency ward. She explains what the volunteers do.
It's great to have them around, sort of extra communication with patients, sort of signposting patients. Often there'll be sort of the main reception area, communicating sort of wait times and signposting patients to the right areas, providing refreshments. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Right, to be honest, they could just put volunteers in the corridors at King's and just stand there with a recognisable T-shirt or a clipboard on, because the times I've got lost in those corridors. Pretty much every hospital is a rabbit warren, isn't it? And it's challenging to move around. Annie is a musician, believe it or not, and she volunteers at King's on the children's ward.
Great big elephants wash his boats. I'm the person that comes in and doesn't stick a needle in them and take their temperature or anything like that. We're just going to have some fun.
I just think that's absolutely brilliant. We'll hear from another volunteer shortly, but we can talk now to Rebecca Kenley, who's Director of Volunteering at the Royal Voluntary Service. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Jim.
Hi. So what kind of roles are we talking about? I was surprised there Annie is a musician and volunteer, so there's clearly a diverse range of roles available.
I think volunteers can do an awful lot within the NHS environment. I mean, we've got 5,000 volunteers, and the variety of different things they do is absolutely phenomenal. Typical things are involved with companionship on ward, that friendly face that you see who offers you a smile and a chat. Really, really important to lift morale in a hospital setting. We've got a number of great volunteers who do transport from the hospital to home from hospital volunteers who help with recovery. But also we have some really unique roles, like we have volunteers who support with exercise on ward to help people who might be in hospital for a long period of time keep their movement and keep their ability to kind of keep moving around. So a real variety of roles, I'd say.
Yeah, one of my neighbours volunteers in the transport sector, just moving patients to and from home. She finds it hugely rewarding, and I love what Annie said there as well. I'm the person who comes on the ward and doesn't stick a needle in their arms,
Yeah,
it's lovely, that, isn't it? If you're going to do it though, do you need any kind of medical experience, would you say?
Absolutely not. So every role you come to will have training and personal development linked to that role. So within the hospital environment and any environment, we need to make sure that you're supported as a volunteer, but also that the work that you're doing is delivered safely and in a practice that's appropriate. So lots of different roles have lots of different training. For example, transport has one lot of training, whereas on ward has a different lot of training. What's beautiful about the NHS environment is that we do structure training both as charities for our own volunteers, but then we tap in to the brilliant training that the NHS offers as well. So it's a really supportive environment where you can get the best for yourself personally, but equally offer really great activities.
Okay, so you're not just plunged in at the deep end, you are
absolutely not.
Okay, that's key.
Yeah.
You are inevitably going to encounter very poorly people though, aren't you? So you should be prepared for that at least, shouldn't you?
I think you should be prepared. Working in the NHS, it's a dynamic environment full of patients that need support and care. Some patients are very poorly. We work with our volunteers here at Royal Voluntary Service to make sure their well-being and emotions are very well supported. So different environments offer different opportunities for those. Some people may feel that actually volunteering in a coffee shop or a trolley might be more appropriate, and then others may want to give more of themselves. So we'll work with the volunteers to make sure we get the best match for them.
I suppose the question has to be asked, should we have to rely on volunteers in this day and age, do you think?
Well, I actually think that volunteers offer a uniqueness to the NHS, and actually lots of settings that actually is about humanity, that's above and beyond just clinical. That lovely example about somebody saying, I'm a person that doesn't stick a needle in your arm, that's a really great point. And I think that whilst the NHS is under pressure, I still think that there's a place for volunteers. And our great partnership with Health Force is really looking to explore all the ways that volunteering can support the national health, both in terms of traditional delivery, but looking about outside the box as well.
Yeah, and actually it's a two-way street, isn't it? Because the volunteers gain an awful lot as well in terms of their own mental well-being, developing new skills, meeting people, that kind of thing. It's a very fulfilling environment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think every piece of research that looks into volunteering demonstrates the benefit to you personally as a volunteer. I mean, I've volunteered for 20 years and it never ceases to amaze me, the richness and the things that I find out about environments and society that I would never find out about unless I was volunteering. So I can't stress enough, you know, it's beneficial for you, it's beneficial for those that you support, it's beneficial for society, and in this instance, it's beneficial for the national health, which, you know, how much better can that be?
Well, you've set out some pretty big ambitions, Rebecca, haven't you, to double the number of volunteers over the next 5 years. So how do you plan to go about doing that?
Absolutely. So our partnership with Health Force is ambitious, and we are looking to work with lots of hospitals and NHS trusts across Britain to try and explore new and creative ways that we can introduce volunteering into those hospital environments. But also we want to share best practice. So we've got some amazing examples of brilliant hospitals that are doing innovative activities for volunteering, as well as really normal things for volunteering. So we want to take that innovation and that learning to hospitals that perhaps haven't experienced volunteering and help them learn and grow their volunteer pool. But also we want to think about new ways volunteers can support the NHS. So it's a really exciting time, and we're really saying to the public out there, if you're somebody that wants to volunteer for your NHS, you can look at our website, www.royalvoluntaryservice.uk. But more importantly, there's lots of charities in the NHS. You can go to your local hospital and you can find out what volunteering opportunities are available for you that are right and appropriate for you.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you. That's Rebecca Kenley there, Director of Volunteering for the RBS. So, as you heard, I mean, there's all kinds of different opportunities you could consider if you've got the time. And I suppose 2 hours a month doesn't feel like a big commitment. I suppose the commitment comes from making that commitment and then sticking to it. The amount of time might not be the problem, it's just finding the window in which to do it. I mean, that's certainly the case for me. I'd be interested to know, perhaps, if you do volunteer, how you went about ensuring you could stick to those commitments. That's because saying it and doing it are two different things, I think. 0800 731 2000. And I wonder if you agree with me that perhaps we shouldn't necessarily have to rely on volunteers to support such a vital public service in this day and age. Or do you, like Rebecca, see it as an absolutely vital part of the service itself, and actually if you do choose to do it, you get an awful lot out of it? 0800 731 2000. And if you volunteer perhaps somewhere else in a different environment, maybe a different charity or a different sector, do call. You're part of the conversation here, because I want to find out what you get out of doing it this afternoon on BBC Radio London. It's drive time, Thursday afternoon, the 3rd of May, with Jim Davis in for Minister. Should we go to the phones? Margaret's on the line in East Barnet first. Hello, Margaret.
Oh, hi.
Hello there. Tell me what you do then.
I help run the charity shop for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. We are a charity shop that is funded totally by the money that we get in. Our national centre don't pay for our shop. Right. We have to fund everything. Everybody in this particular group is unpaid.
Okay, how many are there of you?
In the shop there's about 20 of us. We never have a problem of getting volunteers.
Okay.
Many of us have volunteered for 20 years.
Wow. What sort of time commitment do you make then?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. We are here, let's say, we could do 30 hours a week sometimes.
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
That's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job.
Okay.
It is a full-time job.
Is that what you signed up for?
No. I signed up for a Saturday. Can you just bear with me 1 second, please?
Of course.
I am in the shop.
You've got a customer, have you?
Bear with...
Tell me what... I want to know what they're buying, don't you? What are they buying? I'm intrigued.
Okay, so our shop is fantastic. We are charity shops like very little other charity shop. We sell retro, we sell vintage, we sell designer clothes, we sell a lot of art. So if anybody's looking for art, come down here.
Okay.
We sell, I mean, just today we've sold 4 pieces of art.
Do you feel valued, Margaret, do you think? Is part of them...
I did. I did feel value, but I think the charity world. Welcome to the O2 messaging service. Quite frustrating.
And I mean, it's a challenge in that, isn't it? Because of course you want to do as much as you can do, and I suppose you find yourself in a position where you struggle to say no when you're asked to do one more thing and one more thing and one more thing.
I started off doing half a day on a Saturday, and then as people got elderly and went by the wayside, you try and fill in. So like many of my colleagues, we're doing 2 and 3 jobs, but most of us are not in the first flush of youth. And I'm being very, I'm being sort of...
generous, yes.
Generous. Let's put it this way. My husband works in the shop, he's 76.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me that was a way to get out of the house now, but no, he's there too.
No, I'm 75. We've just had 2 ladies stop working for the charity because after 48 years and becoming 90, they thought that it was not sensible.
Put their feet up. Well, listen, Margaret, thank you so much and good luck with it. And what road are you on, by the way, in East Barnet?
We're at number 272 to 274 East Barnet Road. We're the MS Society charity shop and we're right opposite Barclays. And thank you so much for letting me sound off.
My pleasure, Margaret. Nice to talk to you. There we go. You see, I mean, but this is one of the dangers, I suppose, isn't it? You give a little... and you'll be asked for a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and before you know it, you're working full-time hours. That doesn't strike me as very fair. I don't know whether or not this is something that is part of the plan to recruit more volunteers to try and spend a bit of time working within the NHS. So let's actually talk to Petula Story now, who's Head of Volunteering at King's. Good afternoon, Petula.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thanks very much for joining me. Just tell me a little bit more about what the volunteers contribute to life at King's then.
So we have around 700 volunteers across all our sites. Our youngest starts from 16, oldest is around 88. Our volunteers do a range of things. It can be, we've got volunteers trained to provide hand massages for end-of-life patients. We've got volunteers who, on Saturdays, for example, on some of our wards, play bingo with the patients.
Sure. And how important is their contribution, would you say?
Oh, incredibly important. I think, patients come here and we do our best to offer the best clinical support, but I think with our volunteers we can offer, they're sort of part of the jigsaw puzzle and can offer other support as well. So crucial, I think. Actually,
you've got 700. It was a big place. Last time I was at King's just recently, when one of my relatives was in with you, I encountered your volunteers on several occasions. All of whom were incredibly helpful, very happy to help, very smiley, warm, welcoming when it's a difficult time, and often it is for the patients and the visitors. So you need to have a certain disposition, don't you?
absolutely. You know, patients and even visitors come to King's, as you just mentioned yourself, and I'm pleased to hear that you had a great experience with our volunteers. You know, it's a challenging time for most people, and they, you know, people like having someone to speak to who's not clinical and just chat and do other things. So having those few minutes, you know, a volunteer does have that time to take someone's mind off the situation they might be currently in, or, you know, maybe point somebody in the right direction. You know, as you just said, you know, King's is a massive place. And by having somebody just point you in the right direction just alleviates and, you know, provides some reassurance and comfort, really.
Is this just a way, though, to support roles that might otherwise be paid?
Absolutely not. Volunteers are working alongside staff and are adding value to what we already do. So it's definitely not taking on any staff roles. Our volunteers don't do any clinical care whatsoever at all.
So you're not in a way bringing in free help in a bid to reduce your burden in staffing costs. There's nothing to do with that.
No, absolutely not. As I said, you know, we're adding value to what staff already do. We're kind of you know, part of the kind of package of care. So when patients come to us, you know, they'll get the best clinical care, but we also can offer through volunteers additional support, like sort of, you know, comfort, reassurance, and spending time with them, reassuring and helping them out in whatever way possible. Yeah.
And once a volunteer's in the system with you, I mean, can they work as much or as little as they want, or is there a certain level, a certain criteria?
We also volunteers for 3 hours a week for 6 months. Some stay with us much longer, but yeah, that's our kind of request. So 3 hours.
3 hours a week.
So I normally say to them, you know, it's a little bit more than just, you know, a long movie.
Yeah, I suppose so. But actually, you know, it's a fair commitment, isn't it? Once a week to give out 3 hours, and but then if you're minded to do it and you're up for it, then as you say, it's a hugely rewarding experience. Petula, thanks very much. Really good to talk to you. It's Petula Story, who's head of volunteering at King's. They need more, and the Royal Voluntary Service are helping to recruit. They want to double the number working within the NHS over the next 5 years. There's clearly a huge demand for it. I'd quite like to hear about this from the other perspective as well. Perhaps you've been in hospital recently. How valuable was it to you to have somebody there who perhaps wasn't a doctor, wasn't a nurse, wasn't there to talk to you about your condition or your prognosis or diagnosis or anything like that, but actually just, you know, pass the time of day? Maybe if you couldn't do it for yourself, maybe help you eat. You know, I mean, that's a big problem, isn't it? 0800 731 2000 is the number to call. Sylvester is on the line in Walthamstow next. Hello, Sylvester. Oh, have we got Sylvester? Hello, Sylvester. Hello, we can hear you now. Sorry about that. Thanks for your call. So I understand you.
It's like a special song. Can move my. So instead of watching the minutes, you'll be looking out for new ideas like me that'll grow your business. Answer every opportunity with Vonage. Just visit vonage.co.uk or call 0203 435 8000. Excludes VAT at 20%. Terms and contract apply. If you could change your life, take it in any direction, where would you go? Juliet is currently studying for a degree in adult nursing with the Open University.
When I was given the option to do a degree, I was quite frightened at first, but everybody has been fantastic. I've had so much support with the Open University. It is distance learning, but you're not alone.
Search OU Stories today. The Open University.